If you're holding altcoins like I do, you're probably in a world of pain right now, just seeing nothing but red candle after red candle on your chart and wondering, when is the altcoin bull market going to happen? It feels like altcoins have been in a bear market forever, and any runs they've had have just been cut short, unless you're like on pump fund or something like that. I mean, in that case, your altcoin lasted for what, a few hours maybe. So not a great situation in the altcoin market. This is the reckoning. It's what it feels like. Are they ever going to come back? That's what we're going to discuss in tonight's video. I'm the Gaussian Snake. You've entered the crypto simulation, and this is not financial advice. This is total 3, which is the market cap of the altcoin market, the entire altcoin market, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I want to look at this metric. I actually don't look at this too often. This is total 3 USD. I've drawn some fib levels, and it actually looks very similar in a lot of ways to what happened with Bitcoin. We had a top in November of 2021, and then we formed this cup. Okay, you could argue, this was not technically a cup until now because we put in a slightly higher high. So in December, we put in a slightly higher high in the altcoin market of about 1.13 trillion, but really it just kind of matched this top here. And so the question is, what happens next? I think a cup and handle formation is likely. I think we're going to see a handle form here. I don't know how long that handle is going to take to form. We'll try to maybe get some ideas by looking at the data. We can see that the VRVP, this is going back all the way to 2021. I have to kind of look over at my monitor to see, because it's blocking, my computer's blocking the monitor. There seems to be some significant support kind of in the 0.618 fib level. And I think that we could find a bottom here if the 786 doesn't hold. And we'll have to discuss the likelihood of it holding or not holding by looking at some data in addition to what we're seeing here. So that's one thing I wanted to point it out. I want to look at a few other things. Let's turn off the VRVP, and we're going to turn on some moving averages and see what's going on with those to get an idea of where some potential areas of support and resistance might be. You can see that the 20-week HMA is curling down. That's in yellow. Although the 50-week had a beautiful golden cross in December, it's concave down right now, and price action is actually sandwiched between the 50 and the 100 and stuck at the 786 fib level. Now, the good news is I do think there's a good chance that the 200-week HMA holds, which is at the 618 fib, but we could go underneath it briefly. It's possible. I'm looking at a lot of horizontal support. We saw that on the VRVP. So I would look to, potentially somewhere in here for a bottom for total 3 if I just had to go off moving averages, which of course we need to look at a lot of data to be able to get a good picture of what's going on. I wanted to turn on a linear regression channel. This channel is a fairly strong channel that goes all the way back to 0.84 correlation. So it's a fairly strong channel. It goes back to July of 2022. So 135-week channel, like many of my linear regression channels. We hit the bottom of this channel in October of 2023. And then we came back down beneath the median line and kind of crabbed for a few months. And then we actually went all the way to the top of the channel once again, but we failed to break out of it and form a new channel in December of 2024. And now we're coming back down. So how far down are we going to go? I mean, it's really, impossible to say from here, but I think we might make it down to the median line at the very least, potentially even lower. So somewhere between the 618 and 786, if I had to guess, I think could serve as a final bottoming region. I think it's quite unlikely that we bottom now, just basically looking at this linear regression channel, which has held for quite some time. So that's just another thing that I wanted to point out. So that's, all the data that I really want to look at that's directly on the chart. I'd like to look at some under the hood data as well. I'm actually going to close the RCMO. I don't want to look at that one right now. I want to look at the average sentiment oscillator. So this is here in the middle. So the average sentiment oscillator is showing a concerning trend. So we got up to some pretty nice levels on the bull bubble. This is where the green line diverges away from the red one. But now look at the green line is diverging or is converging into the red one. And that is a little concerning. Now, will we see another red bubble form? I'm not sure. This can always, come down here and then go back up again. It's always a possibility. But the way things have been for a while is we would, going back to 2021, you had your major altcoin season, which is this giant green bubble, a little bit of weakness. and then another green bubble, and then we entered into a pretty long bear market, and we had some relief in quarter 4 of 2023 heading into quarter 1 of 2024, and that really died off in quarter 2. We had a bear bubble throughout the summer, and then things kind of got exciting again for some altcoins, very specific coins, not the entire market, and now we're kind of dying off again. If you look down here at the MFI oscillator volume profile trendoscope, the green is overbought, the red is oversold, and keep in mind this is all in a weekly time frame. We were actually in the overbought territory all the way from December of 2023 until about April of 2024. We almost got to it in December, and now we're coming down again. This is a very bearish looking chart. So it seems like we probably have to come down and become oversold again at some point. We're not quite there yet. It looks like we're about 50% of the way there. Of course, nothing's guaranteed, but that's just my theory based on what I'm seeing in the chart. So let me turn on some more indicators to get an idea of what's going on. Unfortunately, I don't think the pain for altcoins is over. If you look at the on-balance volume, it doesn't look so good over the past couple months. It's going down. If you look at the wave trend oscillator, it printed a bearish divergence dot on December of 2024. Last time this happened, we printed one in April 2024. We took a pretty nice trip down, and this was also on a lower high. That doesn't mean that we have to come back down to this region. I mean, if you look, the good news is we printed a bullish divergence dot in July of 2022 on the wave trend, a slightly higher low in December of 2022, a double bottom that was both at higher lows in July and September of 2023, and yet another higher low in September of 2024. So there's a pretty good chance that we form another higher low, maybe even slightly above the zero line before we have our really major altcoin season. And if you go back to 2021, the major altcoin season, we get above the red zone. Okay. Unfortunately, we have data going back to that cycle for this particular indicator, but that should be reassuring that we could potentially print another higher low. Now, of course, the counter argument to that is that we printed a lower high and maybe we print a lower low, but that would be that's not really my base case. I don't think that's likely to happen. I mean, anything can happen, but I still think we're in an overall trend that's building in a more bullish way. KZX RSI does not look great. We actually printed our first bearish divergence diamond on December 2nd. So this is a bearish divergence on the KZX RSI, suggesting a continuation of this downtrend is likely. You can have bounces along the way, as you've seen back here. Go back to the 2021 bull market, but yeah, it's not a very great sign. Also, the tricks bubble just really coming down hard, approaching the zero line. These are, of course, shorter term moving averages. But again, look at the trend. Ever since June of 2022, it's been mostly, just higher lows and higher highs. And this is even a higher high. And this is on a 5-week, at 5-week EMA. But in 2021, we got all the way up here. So, I mean, this is it doesn't look like we really had much of an altcoin season. Like if you kind of compare it to the past cycle, it just doesn't look that way. This is my beam risk indicator for the altcoin market. How to recalibrate it just because I have data going all the way back to 2017. I'm not sure if I picked the best calibration, but you can see that there was very clear topping in the altcoin market from about February of 2021 to April of 2021, and again from August of 2021 to November 2021, if you consider the last crypto market cycle. In this cycle, the highest we've made it on the beam is to 0.5 risk. We actually made it to about 0.81 risk, and with the way that I've adjusted the beam, we should theoretically at least be able to make it to 0.65 or 0.7 before we call altcoin season off. So it just seems like we're kind of building up to that like major altcoin season. We're putting in again like higher highs and higher lows. So the overall trend does still look bullish, but in the shorter term, it certainly is bearish. It's quite bearish at the moment, and you're feeling that. But I don't think that, the overall trend is going in the right direction, right? It's going upward instead of downward. So the beam is giving me a lot of confidence that we will have an altcoin season. So one metric that looks a little bit surprising is the stochastic oscillator. The stochastic oscillator, this cycle in early 2023, late 2023 to early 2024, and we'll just say quarter 4 of 2024, got up into the hot zone for altcoin season. Like these are hot zones for altcoins. If you go back to the previous cycle, let's count how many times this happened where we got to the hot zone. In November 2019, which is very brief, we had June of 2020 to August of 2020, a couple months there. And then we dipped down a little bit, came back up from January 2021 to May of 2021. And then again from August of 2021 to November 2021. So 4 times. We've already done this 3 times. So what this seems to suggest is we've, as frustrating as it is, we've already ran pretty hot on altcoin season. But does this mean it's over? I don't think it does. But again, the stochastic oscillator is heading in the wrong direction for us to feel too bullish. So I think this has to come down more. But I do believe we'll get back up here at least one more time this cycle. I think it's very likely that will happen. Now, what's extra frustrating this cycle is that, we've had these altcoin seasons, but we haven't really seen like a lot of movement in many projects. A lot of projects have just not done a whole lot in a really long time. And some of them look like they're dead. And this is a little bit different from altcoin seasons of the past. I feel like if you're not in the right projects, you just, you might not be doing a whole lot except just losing money. Part of that may have to do with the fact that we have more altcoins, a more variety of altcoins now than we've ever had before. And I'm going to show you some examples to kind of distinguish how different some altcoins have been from other ones and how not everything is created equal this cycle. We're used to having a time in the market where most altcoins pump. If you go back, to the last cycle, this cycle, that just really has not been the case. Everything's been running at different times, and some things haven't been running at all, and some things have just died out. So let's take a look at a few different altcoins for examples. And I'm not picking on these to kind of like point anything out about the project in particular. So if you see your project here, it's not because I'm trying to criticize it. It's just I'm familiar with the chart, and that's why I'm choosing it as opposed to trying to pick something completely random. So this is the Virtuals protocol. This altcoin debuted in Q2 of 2024. And so it hasn't really been around that long. And it just kind of did this really nice double bottom. And from this low wick here to this top, Virtuals put in a 350x move. So that's an altcoin season style move right there. Virtuals is doing this in Q3 and Q4, and currently Virtuals has only retraced by a modest 80.38%. It's a big retracement, but look at all that upward movement. It's a really strong project. And AIXBT along with Virtuals looked really good. I just realized I didn't show the Virtuals chart. I have 2 monitors and I wasn't looking at the right one, but anyways, this is the Virtuals chart. And so we had that gigantic 350x move, and we have about 80%, 80% retracement. The other chart I wanted to show you was XRP. It's one of our Dino coins that really woke up in a big way in November. And if you measure it from bottom to top, you're talking a, modest, almost 6x move. And since then, XRP has retraced about 28%. A very different story. This is Cardano. And Cardano from, I'm not even sure where to start. Let's just start here. So from November 2024, just within like a month's time, Cardano did a 3x. Okay, and since then, it has retraced 43%. This is PEPE, the altcoin that everyone has been talking about all year. I put in about a 2.5x from November to December. It's been hit pretty hard though on this retracement. It's come down as far as 72%. I mean, now it's sitting at about 65% off of the new highs. And if you think these major gains are limited to just utility coins, well, they're not. This is Fartcoin. Fartcoin was up 186x from October to roughly January, and since then it has fallen by a modest 83%. So undoubtedly we had an altcoin season in Q4. You look at some of these coins, very very much what you would expect from an altcoin season. But why did total three not go up that much? Like total three just simply put in um, a, a double top relative to its 2021 highs. Because not all altcoins were doing well. It's really hard for me to pick on ones because I know some of you might hold these and I'm sensitive to that. But, I do want to point some out that have not done so well. This is Trueflation, a coin that we talked about on crypto simulation theory when it first debuted. It really didn't do a whole lot. I mean, it had a dead cat bounce from October to November, so a 2.5x is pretty pathetic for a new altcoin. And then it's been bleeding ever since. It's down 88% from that dead cat bounce. Really, really bad looking. This is DeFi Kingdoms or Jewel. It's done nothing but bleed. This is a GameFi token. Just bleed, bleed, bleed. What altcoin season? Like it barely did anything. This is XPX 6900. If you go back to November to about early January, it put in about a 3x move. And we've seen a lot of coins like Aerodrome's another one that did about a 3 to 4x. Velodrome did a 4x. These are not like the massive moves you're used to seeing, but it happened during a technical altcoin season. Polygon had a technical altcoin season. Didn't even do a 2x. Just stuck in this like continued downtrend and actually putting in on that scare, it put in like a slightly lower low. Doesn't look very good. This is the BVM network. It went sideways. Nothing could save it, and it's just dropping even more. And there's a lot of charts out there that look like this that just, it doesn't matter if it's altcoin season or not altcoin season. They're not doing anything. And so my point is, if we go back to total three, you'll notice that it hasn't really moved a whole lot compared to where it was in 2021. And, that's kind of interesting, right? Like that has been the case. Like total three's measured move from, we'll just say, when the altcoin season was kind of kicking into gear, say October, November, when it ended, that was pretty much like a 1x, doubled the move, right? Or 2x, my bad. So 97% increase. So I guess, if you want to, you call it a 2x because it doubled, let's just say 97% increase. Okay. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these altcoins we looked at certainly outperformed total three as a whole, which you would hope would happen, especially when you're moving around these large amounts of market cap. But on the whole, it just doesn't look very impressive, like these 2x, 3x, 4x moves. So what can we expect? I mean, if you believe that altcoin season's coming back later in the year, then you might surmise some kind of cup and handle, but certainly this can't be it. A double top relative to 2021, and that's it. It just doesn't really seem likely, that would be what happened. Compare the altcoin season we had before, right? If you like zoom out even further. Oh, I didn't lock those fibs down. Let me lock them. I mean, look at this move, right? Yeah, there's such a thing as diminishing returns, but essentially we've done nothing. We've just come back to where we started. So that's the beginning stages of a bull market. That's not like the end stage of a bull market. We want to see a move like this. We want to see something parabolic. Now we know with diminishing returns and with, like I said, with the sheer amount of altcoins in the system, there's just so many of them that are losing money as others are gaining. It's you're not going to see a move like this. It's not going to be exactly like this, but I think we can see, a move perhaps to the 1.414 fib, maybe even the 1.618 potentially could get up there sometime this year. So, the altcoin market is more or less following kind of the path that Bitcoin's taking, but it's just a lot weaker than Bitcoin on the whole. So that's the last thing I want to look at in this video is kind of take a look at altcoins against Bitcoin. Now, I'm looking at altcoins against Bitcoin. This is clearly where the bull market hasn't even started. We had a bounce from November to December, and we saw that reflected in many of the older altcoins outperforming Bitcoin. Is that it? Is that it? I don't think so, folks. I don't even feel like the altcoin bull market has started against Bitcoin. Like this is maybe just altcoins waking up. The Gaussian channel is widening. It's concave up. That's all good. Currently, though, alt Bitcoin valuations are at 0.38. I mean, they went as far down as 0.34. That's a big area of horizontal support. Is that going to hold? I mean, I don't know if it will. It's below the 236 fib right now. 0.44 is the 236 fib for the ratio of all Bitcoin valuations. So, I think it's likely we're going to put in a lower high on alt Bitcoin valuations. I don't think we're going to make it up to the 1 fib. Just like in the last cycle, we didn't make it quite as high as the one before. But I think we could make it to the 786 to 618, somewhere in there. So I think alt Bitcoin valuations could get at least as high as the 618, which is 0.66, nearly double from where we're at now. And best case scenario, somewhere a little bit above the 618, if I had to guess. Okay, that's just me guessing. I don't think we're going to make it to the 886. We could make it to the 786. That is possible as well. That's why I said somewhere between those two for alt Bitcoin valuations. But Bitcoin's been outperforming altcoins for so long that it's almost like even when altcoins do go on a run, it's just blunted very quickly by Bitcoin. And you can see that there was a pretty massive capitulation in December of 2020. We just had a capitulation. It looks, like a shrunk down version of what we had back in late 2020. But after that, altcoins outperformed Bitcoin for several months. I mean, it was just straight up. We haven't seen that move, and I doubt this is the move right here. Like, what a disappointment that would be. What a disappointment if the 382 is where altcoins topped against Bitcoin. That would really say our crypto market is a bunch of crap, which admittedly a lot of it is, but that would really validate it. So I think all Bitcoin valuations should bottom this quarter if they haven't already. We may have an event like this. I don't know if it'll be quite as dramatic, but this could have been the event. Seeing that the Gaussian channel has, again, it's starting to open up and it's concave up. So it's suggesting that our bearish momentum is really stalling. But yeah, I think, we got this gigantic move back here in 2017. It was very brief, but we didn't have as many altcoins back then. 2021, it wasn't quite as dramatic. And, I think we'll have a less dramatic one even this time. And again, I think we'd end up somewhere in here. So if you're worried, if you think that Bitcoin is still in a bull run, which I very much do, and you're worried that your altcoins are not going to outperform Bitcoin at all, I would just say, look at that chart I just showed you. Altcoins have been in a bear market against Bitcoin, admittedly, for almost 3 straight years. So something's got to give, right? There's got to come an upside pump. And when these things move, they move quickly. Altcoins move ferociously fast. So I think we could see another drop if Bitcoin takes off and it drags Bitcoin dominance up with it initially. But then I think it's very likely that altcoin Bitcoin valuations are going to turn the corner. I still think 2025 is going to be remembered as an altcoin year and not entirely as a Bitcoin year. We know Bitcoin is king and it controls this market. We can't ever fade it, but I think there will be other times this year, at least one, maybe 2 times this year where altcoins substantially outperform Bitcoin. So those are my thoughts on altcoins. Probably a little more pain to come for alt USD valuations. Certainly more pain to come for alt Bitcoin valuations. But I think we'll turn the corner. I don't know if it will happen this month or even next month. We might have to wait till Q2. It's the way some things look, is just we have more weeks where we need to unwind. And you may see some altcoins have some very terrifying drops. Kind of like what we experienced a few days ago, but maybe it just happens over a longer period. I don't know. Could be another rapid drop. I mean, we have to prepare ourselves for these things at any time, or we could be at the bottom right now and just not know it. I think that's unlikely. It's not really my base case. I didn't talk about Ethereum, but I'll just briefly mention Ethereum doesn't look great right now. It does look good on like a larger time scale, but in the short term, it just doesn't look great. And so I think that we just need to be patient and look for good opportunities in the altcoin market. And if you believe that Bitcoin's in a bull market, sorry, feels like we're in a bear market if you hold altcoins. And we're not in a full-on bear market. Altcoins are sort of, but especially alt Bitcoin. But if you feel like we're in a bull market and you think Bitcoin is likely to go higher, then that liquidity will eventually find its way to altcoins. Now, the great unknown is, will the entire altcoin market pump all at once? I still think it will, except for the flat out rug pulls. I showed you a couple examples of charts that look like rugs, but pump fund crap, that stuff's not going, so that also sucked a lot of liquidity out. There was so much money that went into pump fund and some of the base meme coins too, that I think that also affected Total 3 in a negative way. It may have contributed to why I put in a double top instead of a higher high. But I don't really know how Total 3 is calculated, if all that stuff was included or not. So that's just speculation. TradingView probably isn't going to give us our secret recipe, but with there's just so many altcoins, they can't all 100x, right? They just can't. So manage your expectations with the altcoins you hold. I say try to identify ones that have shown relative strength against other altcoins and against Bitcoin. Those are likely the ones that are going to do the best. And stay away from the ones that are just macro bleeders. Not financial advice, but that's just kind of like the sensible thing, I think, from my perspective. Thank you for joining me in the crypto simulation. If you would like to continue this discussion and talk about altcoins some more and hear what other people have to say, go join me in my Telegram channel. Link is in the video description. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed the content. Let me know your thoughts on altcoins, if you think we're going to have another major altcoin season. And also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Love to see you there. Until next time, enjoy. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you can come back to the crypto simulation anytime I post a video. Take care. Bye.